What are you doing for the rest of your life? What are your dreams and what are your aspirations? Who says that your identity is influenced by culture, art, social media, or fashion? Who says that that is the norm? What about what you want to do? Who do you want to be? What do you want to become? Where do you want to go? My name is Vinny McCoy. I spent many years in the Army. I've been on numerous United Nations missions. I've seen 2 wars in the Middle East. I've spent 23 years soldiering on the Irish border during the troubled times. I now own a successful security company, and in my spare time, I help young people to identify themselves, and I put into them what I get out of life, and I give them advice. But it wasn't always like that. And I can tell you now, I didn't get to where I was by having a piece of paper from the education system to tell me what I could do and what I couldn't do. I want to bring you back to 1975-76, when a man called Nelson Mandela was on his 15th year in jail for having a vision, for having a dream. It was a time that a career guidance coach was unheard of. And if you left school early, you were tagged as a dropout. You weren't normal. Actually, the more I think of it, I tried to be normal once, and I'd say it was probably the worst 2 minutes of my life. But you know, along all that time, no one asked me, why did I leave school? And I'm going to tell you now. I left school because the education system simply had not got the same vision as I had. So I left. But I want to tell you a story what happened before I left. And it's true, because it's about me. There was a school debate team of 3 people, and I was on it. And the teachers put a lot of energies into 2 of the speakers. And it was my turn to go on stage. So I got out there, and I stood on stage in front of 42 tests, well, it felt like that, in front of about 200 people. And I stood there. And I stood there. And I stood there. What came over me, I've christened it since, called the goldfish syndrome. I could see everything, I could hear everything, but there was nothing coming out. So I walked off the stage. And I was greeted with the first teacher. You're an embarrassment. That was horrible. That was a disaster. I hope you got a sweeping roads. But there was this one voice, and it tapped me on the shoulder. And he said, young McCoy, you won't feel like it now, but in time, that will stand to you. 2 things came over me standing on that stage. And one was the isolation. But I'll never, ever, ever forget the fear. So what is fear? Fear is the taker of many a dream. And if you overcome your fear, you will get to live your dream. So I left school. And I was introduced to my second family, which was the Army. That wasn't taken yesterday. So I joined the Army, and I knew straight away it's where I was at. A compass, a map, orienteering, the life. And people listen to what you say, and you got to make decisions. And I just enjoyed it. I just landed on my feet. 2 years later, I found myself landing in Beirut to the Middle East on a mission. And my mornings were full of Marahaba Siddiqui Gi Falak Mabsud. You learn the local language. And excuse me if there anyone from Arabic there, my Irish Arabic is not great. But that's, your morning was full of that, helping families, helping refugees. And life was great. Until the 18th of April, 1980. When closer than you are in front of me now, I was talking to two of my comrades. And a few minutes later, they were shot dead. The point of no return. A few minutes later on the checkpoint, we were missing another Irish soldier. And a car crashed into the checkpoint. Shots were fired. And we opened the back of the car. And there was our third soldier. Still alive, but badly wounded. And we got him medevaced and taken away. So months passed, and I found myself at home in my hometown in RD. And when you've been there, you don't go down to town straight away because you don't mix. Life is very different where you're after coming from. And when I eventually got down to town and crossing over the bridge, I met one of my old schoolmates to the voice of, "Well, you drop out, Vinny, where have you been this 2 years?" And I got talking to him. And I was amazed at his attitude. He was going to college. And he proceeded to tell me that he couldn't understand what he was doing at school. And if he didn't get his degree, he was going to be nothing. Absolutely nothing. And he was convinced with the system that was in place that if he couldn't understand it, his life was gone. He was living in this thing called dogma. You're living your life in someone else's thinking. So I moved on. There's a great man that I call my hero in life, and a man called Christie Hennessy, a brilliant musician. Christie could never read or write. He could write some great songs in his head and bring them out to different people, Christy Moore, Mary Black, all those. But Christie will tell you, if he was alive today, that he hated school. He asked his mother, could he leave school? And he went in and told the teacher, I'm leaving school. And the teacher said to him, why? Do you know what's going to happen out there? And Christie was about to answer, and the teacher goes, nothing. Nothing's going to happen you, and you'll never be nothing. But the annoying thing about this was, no one seen Christie for his creativity. He was a genius. And Christie went through life without reading or writing. And he reminds me of obstacles. That's the word that comes into my mind. And the obstacles are, I was sitting in Phoenix Park one day, and this blind man passed me, and I had a great view standing right behind him. And there was roadworks or whatever on the footpath, cobblestone, that wouldn't have been there yesterday, all fresh stuff. And I watched him. And he got round this, and he got round the bin, and he got round the seat, and he got out the far side unscathed. And I said, that's it. That's the answer. That's the Christie Hennessy. Our life is full of obstacles. And sometimes we can't see them, but we know they're there. And when it's left to our own devices, we'll always find a way to get through them. It's like someone saying to you in the mirror, you look in the mirror, you need to sort that person out, you need to tell that person, you need to do this. I don't believe in all of that. You couldn't be more wrong. That person in the mirror is you. You're unique and you're perfect. It's what you don't see, it's what you need to sort out. I learned a thing in life to listen. And you can listen the way you're doing it now. You can listen with your ears. And you can listen with your eyes. It's when you start listening with your heart. And that is to understand the person and to see the world as they see it. 2 years ago, we had our school reunion. 40 years. And I was on the committee, and I got a great honour. I was asked to host it. And it was amazing. The joke was the dropout got to host the So the conversation that night was unbelievable. And what it really came down to, 60% of the guys and girls that were at school felt they've wasted 3 years of their life. And most of these people were running their own businesses today. The education system just didn't help these people. Maths to you, and me are different. With an Armory Union last year, and it's called You Stand Down the Colours. And that's it there. I got to walk in the front. And we're all still in step after 40 years. It's in Merrion Square. And it was to honour our fallen. And the most amazing thing about this was, a lot of us overseas, a lot of guys couldn't read or write. I used to talk to guys of that. But when it came down to the job being done, we got it done. And the most amazing, terrifying, unbelievable moment, the guy that we took away to Medivac, the 35 years prior to that, I sat and talked, and he had his own family there. And it was just amazing. You know, a compass will point you in the right direction, but it can't make you go there. It's up to you. My goldfish now, he swam away. I've become that person that tapped me on the shoulder. I've become that person now. And every day I give a talk, have no doubt you are looking at a person living their dream. Today is the 3rd of November, 2017. On the 3rd of November 2018, if you're the same person then as you are now, will you be happy with your life? So I'm asking you, have you a story to tell like me? Or are you going to wait 40 years? And can I leave you with this? Life to me, it's not about the big cars. It's not about all the land. It's certainly not about the money. And not about how you look. It's all about the person you become. Thank you.